Okay, let's try this again. So real quick, I just want to take you through a day in the life. One thing I dealt with yesterday was that we had a resident who had a guest for longer than 5 days, and their lease only allows 5 days. So I sent out a template. And inside Resman, whenever you go to tools and you go to messaging, you can look at these form templates and message particular residents. So we have a lot of them. And for that lease violation, basically what I wanted to do was say, okay, so we know our lease says 5 days, any longer than that, and they've got people trying to get mailed to that other resident's address. So obviously they're in violation. But then we basically send them, I already sent a warning out about a week ago to all the residents through a form letter like this. And then I took a specific form letter and sent it to them with their violation charges, and noticed that we would be removing that guest if they continue to stay and their mail can no longer be forwarded. So this is just one of the things from yesterday, day in the life. But what I mostly did yesterday was legal work. So I want you to know, whenever you have to go to litigation, like I've had to go twice, and litigation for me has happened when somebody else is pissed off because they're not getting their way and they're trying to bully or shove me into giving them more money. And every time I've been sued, it's because somebody else, again, wants more money, but they're aggressing us. And so unfortunately, when I try to sit down and work it out several times and they just refuse to be reasonable, they end up sending a complaint or a litigation petition with a complaint to me or our company, and we have to respond. Legally, you have to respond to these things. And so unfortunately, as part of litigation, the two most expensive parts are interrogatories, request for production, and then depositions, and then of course your expert witness. So unfortunately, it's just part of the game. If you're doing anything, if you're making any money, people that don't have enough work, I guess, want to take advantage, and that's happened a couple times. So what I spent most of my time yesterday doing, 4.5 hours, was, and this is like the third time I've done this to get these perfect, but you have to have your responses. So I'll show you real quick how I do it. So basically, whenever you have a lawsuit and you get to the point where they send you a bunch of interrogatories and requests for production, I have 3 sets of RFPs, or requests for production, and 2 sets of interrogatories. Interrogatories are just question and answer. So for example, they'll ask a question here with a question mark, but in this, it's just asking me to produce something. So my production, because there's so many, like let's see if I can go here. I have all of my documents, evidence, recordings of audio, photos, images, everything, like in Dropbox, and they're all organized by a main folder and then all the documents. So for example, in this one, we have all of they just asked for like a blanket, all of the invoices you've ever had for construction of this property. So I send them all. But what my attorney has to do, unfortunately, is that like whenever you have a request for production and I respond with several links and there's like hundreds of pages of documents in these links, my attorney has to go through and they have to take this and open it, and they have to download all the documents. And then what they have to do is, see here, they have to Bates label all of their requests for production responses. So anyway, I had 3 sets of this. And so as you can see here, like this one's relatively lengthy, and this is just one of them. Again, we had 3, so there's like 40 something questions, 40 something answers. A lot of it's duplicative, so it's repeating. But anyway, I'd spent a lot of time doing that yesterday, and I had already organized everything. So what I did here, and I love to be organized. So if I go, so I'm already prepared after I realize someone is screwing around to collect everything. And so the best way I've found to organize everything is I do it here. So, you know, you're going to have a lot of evidence you got to produce, right? So invoices, messages, emails, photos, signatures on contracts, like everything, because all this in real estate's contract law. But anyway, so what I did do was I basically took all by alphabetical, all of the things that they're going to ask for: draw requests, financial statements, inspections, invoices for repairs, liens, payments, recordings of other calls I've had, witness statements. We have many witnesses on this. I have all the evidence ready to roll. But to put it together, you have to give it to the other party in a request for production. So you produce, this is how I just talked to my attorney. We put it in basically a Google document, and then we edit it live back and forth. They have all my links, and then they go in there basically and turn this into a, because unfortunately the legal world is so freaking old school, but they turn it into just like a basic like Word doc. I think I had that open a second ago, where they basically just, okay, we're gonna, skip the attorneys and case header. We're gonna go ahead and put in different colors. And then so when you Bates label stuff, it's by index. So it looks like this. And sometimes you've previously produced it, so you're trying to show the judge, like, look, they've asked this question 100 times. It's duplicative, but here's the answer. So that's what I did a lot of. That took up a majority of my day yesterday. Now, the other thing that I did yesterday, let's see what else, is we trained a new staff member. So I'll show you real quick, knock. Let's see if I can get in here directly or if it makes me. So we have a software that we use that is for follow-up. So basically this is my property. This is our other one. Oh, whoops. Oh, we've gotten a lot of responses. So this is basically how we track all of our leads and prospects. And so this is a to-do list, and it's assigned by person. So you can see here that I'm doing a horrible job at following up, but we trained someone to help with all this. And then this is my other property. Looks like we were at 100% last night, but it went down. So she has to just keep up with it every day while she's dealing with a whole bunch of stuff. So we have someone that's in here responding to this. And then what we did do is we had like a group conversation that we share screenshots and voice messages and videos of how to set appointments, how to do calls, texts, and emails, the scripts. So like, I have a script roadmap here, for example. So basically just training someone else to continue to follow up whenever we are sleeping, so that way we have plenty of leads coming in that are already qualified and actually already booked for a tour. So that's really what we are focusing on. And now I have to go to the doctor's office, so I'm gonna disconnect and I guess take you with me for a sec while I finish this video. So really what I wanted to do is just kind of be honest with you guys and show you what it's like a day in the life, really living it. I'm not afraid to share the struggles and share what's going on. So that's like a real day in the life. And then today, this is cool. As I go to the doctor, because you got to take care of yourself, okay? I just made a commitment to make a video that's short every day to go over like what it's really like. I haven't yet gone over how I've got one resident, here that's seemingly angry all the time. And so, for me, there's this cool thing that you can do that works all the time. And I've actually had an issue with that guy before too, putting a hole in my tire. Yay! But the property has to compensate me for that issue, right? In addition to that solving the issue, I carry concealed. So what I wanted to do was have him meet the officer that is my buddy down here, from one of the I don't want to say nightclubs, but there's a couple of places that you can go to have drinks here in Fort Worth, and there's a couple of guys that work nights and weekends, which is who I wanted to help me. So you're gonna come right along with me. So those people that help me, I have them on call now. So I had this guy come with a body cam, and then of course, I've got I carry, so I'm licensed to carry, by the way, but it has to be concealed, especially when you're inside a public/private property, because this property is privately held by us, but also public because people live elsewhere, or come in and visit, and anyway, it's a whole legal thing. But point is I have to be able to protect myself in this instances where so that's part of the day too sometimes. And so if you ever have a manager live at your properties, just know that they always have the risk of having other residents screw with them. And then this is something I don't want to profile, but for managers, maintenance men, sometimes if they live in your property, you don't want them flirting with your female staff. You don't want them impregnating your female staff. I'm just saying what's happened before, and so, cause that's a huge issue. And so you'd prefer to have employees live off site. I'm a little bit different because I own the place with my investor partners. So I'm just being the good, awesome guardian of the place, and obviously want the best for it. But essentially, what we're dealing with is just day-to-day issues of managing people. That's really what it is. And so whenever we get through that, then I also have to pay people, and then we also have legal issues that we have to deal with, because like I said, if you're doing anything in business and or if you haven't been sued, you're not doing anything in business, so don't be afraid of it. it's just part of, what I've realized is a lot of these grown men like this one that I'm dealing with, are cowards. And when I try to sit down with them and work it out, we actually did work it out and have witnesses that were there for that meeting. And when we worked it out, they basically drink on Fridays. And so they got real brave and then decided to sue the next week and make up fraudulent invoices and put a false lien on our property, which is total abuse of lien law. So all I have to do is just produce all this evidence, which is so time consuming. But here's the deal, I tried to work it out and the guy wouldn't. Actually, we did, but then he lied. So now I have to answer. That's how it goes whenever you get sued. So at the end of the day, there's a whole bunch I've learned, and I just want to kind of share it with you as I go through the process of really learning. I mean, let me tell you, there's some tough stuff that I've been through and am going through. And I'm just determined to beat all of it, because here's the deal. If I can overcome these lessons, first off, learn the lesson. But when I overcome all these challenges, it just puts me in a echelon of people that are just different than your average person. I'm no longer afraid and feel the need to, I can, I guess, go get a job if I wanted to. But here's the thing is, I have been able to get down to having nothing and get creative enough to go, okay, well, I own this and I own that, and I can move this over here and move that over there. I can create some income. I can create some tax advantages. I can create a new idea. I can enroll people in what I'm doing, because I've dealt with these problems. That's the other part of it, that these problems are welcome, because there's always a solution to these issues, right? And when I find the solution and I'm able to realize that, for example, fraudulent liens, it's a huge issue out there. Why is this okay in the way that lien law works? I wrote down some of what would be a successful life for me, and having influence is a huge part of that. And so to have influence, I think for me to be believable or credible, I think a lot of the stuff that I dream up, as a problem, it's really not believable, and you're not credible if you're just making up issues and you haven't lived through it, So I realize the problem in real time. I find the solution, and then I'm able to show other people how to do that. And yeah, I'm going to charge a fee, because why be me and go through years and years of litigation in several different cases versus just figuring out a way to look at a blacklist up front for people you shouldn't work with, or being able to, for example, have true full-scale background checks on somebody's character, their history, that they have things that they haven't been caught for, because I've dealt with a perpetrator that did something, switched industries, did something else, and all their pattern, is they find young people and older people who either have nothing or can't defend themselves or are sick, and they take money from them, and people do that for a living. So I definitely stand for justice, and for me being able to be creative and being able to help people get through the things that I've had to go through, and creating solutions, is really empowering for me and exciting for me to be able to do that. So I just want to focus on getting through each thing and then really showing you guys what it's like, because a lot of people out there think that oh, it's all sunshine, farts, and rainbows when it comes to investing in multifamily. And this is boots on the ground, and I probably, that's what I was going to tell you about, because I was going to say I can't flip the video if this were to happen while we're on video. But if that aggressive person that is the only people I have problems with my property are dudes who it's this thing in them where they can't have their way with me, and it really bothers them, and so they get aggressive, and I'm no. So I'm sure you've heard of the Karen thing, and it works, let me tell you, because here's the thing. If you're a property manager and you're on site, especially if you live in the property, you don't want to necessarily create a threatening or hostile environment. And if you're not a CHL, or I forgot the other name of if you can carry a handgun legally, or there's states where you can't do that, sometimes it creates a hostile environment where we're using almost fear tactics to control people. But there's a different kind of fear that's subconscious that works actually much better, and you don't even need to get licensed. So I just wanted to share this too. So when we've had people that have been a total Debbie, or they've been crazy, right? I just go be a Debbie, and I'm okay, I'm trying to get space between us, talk sense to them, but then you take your camera and you flick the flashlight on right in their face. It's best if this is later in the evening, because they're oh, and definitely hit record and say, oh, okay, and make sure you have space. Oh, okay, I'm sorry you're upset, but this is not the right time to talk about it. This is not office hours. This is not, if you have a complaint or something that you want to deal with, it's not an emergency, you know what to do. Just email me. Is there anything else I can help you with, or are you going to let me live in peace? Because as a female, I'm very uncomfortable right now living in a place where there are gates everywhere, but then I'm stuck here with you yelling at me and threatening me. And again, you're recording and you have your flashlight on while you're doing this. They will back it up. And then on top of that, you have a recording. And then sometimes I've even said like, hey, because sometimes they get mad that you're defending yourself like this and you're keeping them accountable. Sometimes I'll tell them that I'm going to put this on YouTube if they don't calm down. And I'm putting this video on YouTube. So that's the other thing that I wanted to do with all of this footage and what we're doing every day, is to be able to put it on YouTube for a library of like, what is it really like? A day in the life, asset managing, property managing, owning a property, living in the property, traveling to different properties that you're also asset managing, and training other people, etc. So just kind of have gone through the gamut, and on all sides of the business, there's just so much that I've learned. Even the other day, I had to pull a power play. Like, I've just had to learn how the game works to play it, right? Unfortunately. So, you know, I've had a contractor, that a different person that I've paid in full for a job that is very reputable in the industry, and they ended up trying to say that they basically couldn't finish the job that was necessary to keep our property secure. The biggest goals for us were to make sure that the gates worked, right? And like, we could hire a local contractor, but part of putting in the other madlocks for the doors, panic bar exits, emergency alarms so that people would be alerted if anyone's entering, and some more cameras. But really, like, we already had cameras, but we really wanted to make sure the perimeter was secure. That's the most important thing, and it wasn't secure. And so, long story short, it was sometimes right now in the wild way of things. I don't know if you saw this, but it was the 11th of March this year that actually the Fed has pulled funding from small regional banks. And so, for example, if you go in there and you don't know the lending situation that you're in, if you have a percentage of your loan that you can draw as capital expense, like for improvements on your property, or if you fork it up front, whatever. But because that funding's been pulled, like, for example, if your loan is not in a good place, or the bank is squeezed too tight, like, they won't give you your draws on your loan that you're entitled to through your original loan documents, right? And so that's happening to us. It's happened to us. It's happened to other groups. And so, unfortunately, if you have to have security at a property and it was ruined by the fire marshal and some of the residents together, and you have to get in there and pay for it to fix it, so you got to be creative in how you're going to bring in the funds to do so. And so anyway, in this situation, I guess a lot of people see a big building and they just think we have unlimited cash, and that's not the case. And so it just took us like 3 more weeks to find funds somewhere to pay for the second half of this person's job. And we told them, like, the whole thing, you know, here's where we're going to go get funds from. You know, I need you to wait for a couple weeks. Anyway, so we paid them in full, and then net, you know, we go by December to January, January to February. Now we're in March. We've paid for the job in full, and they still haven't come out to finish it, right? So I've gotten an unconditional lien waiver, and this is something else you need to learn. Unless you have an unconditional lien waiver, not conditional, it doesn't work. I've been through litigation, it doesn't work. Unless they sign an unconditional release, there is no way that you can make sure to go to the judge with that piece of paper or any other piece of paper and have them release a fraudulent lien. Like, if someone just gets pissed off, which happens to me all the time, oh, little girl, I'm going to get you. It happens all the time. If I have that piece of paper that says, oh, they unconditionally waived the lien on this property, boom, release it. You just give it to the judge, they'll do that right away. So we have that in this situation, and so we have the right, then they can't lien our property, and we can sue them for the remaining amount that we paid and they didn't finish. So I don't like to litigate, I don't want to, but we've been asking for 3 months, like weekly, for them to come finish the job, you know. So what do? You know, the more frustrated somebody gets, the more apt they are to litigate. But luckily, a better solution is using leverage and using your community and using other people that care about you. And so I have a couple of people who I've gotten to get closer to me, and I've let them really in to know me and all the struggles I'm going through in personal life. And so I asked them to back me up on this. You know, we use the same contractor. They're well known in the industry. And I don't know what's going on their end, but it's not like they're telling me, to be able to be a little flexible. Okay, I'll give you 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, whatever. We're just not getting the communication. And then when they say they'll come, they don't. So that person helped me as part of my project, to help me to motivate those people, because again, their business is 100% referral based. So good thing. You know, people don't want to work for people that, when we say we'll do a job and we pay you too much for it, and there were some things that changed in the order. Not they were not change orders, but some extra supplies that I guess they didn't bring, and then they just wanted to charge us for it. And unfortunately, we had already done so much effort to like find the extra funds to get it done to secure the property. That anyway, so we worked it out is the thing, and that's good news. And all I had to do, I guess, to get that accomplished was to listen. People, I guess, are not going around telling everybody, like, oh, these are all the problems in my business. I need you to be sensitive to them, because especially when I'm dealing with men, I'm sure if I was a man, it would be hard to admit some soft spots, you know, that I have in my business. But when we were able to, like, get down to it and talk, you know, shared mine, shared his, but let him share more than me, and we ended up working it out. So it's all good, but, like, you know, that unconditional lien waiver, my friends, is your literal lifesaver in any job. And it's hard because you have to get them the last payment, they have to complete the job, right? So, but to get your unconditional lien waiver, you have to pay the final payment. So basically what you have to do is whenever they say the job is finished, you have to go inspect, and then you pay them the final amount. No matter what they say, no matter what. And then if you approve, then you pay them, then they will give you the unconditional lien waiver. So if you're a busybody like me and you can't always go to Corpus Christi, Amarillo, Houston, Phoenix, South Dallas, Denton, all the places we've had multifamily properties and apartments, if you can't be all over the place, it's extremely important that you have somebody on your team that you trust to do quality control. So I have found that women are exceptional at this, just saying, because I don't know, some of us have trauma, some of us grew up being a Virgo, like whatever our thing is, but we tend to really be detail oriented. So having kind of like someone on the team that cares about performance, and they're not just saying, oh, it's good, but you know, you don't always know if you have somebody that's just going to say, oh, it's good. So again, let them check after you've seen them check a smaller job when you're not there, and then have them take a video and make sure, like, for example, if we furnish a unit, we renovate a unit and furnish it, we want to make sure that the electrical, the water, any of the air heating, cooling, AC, HVAC, basically all that's working. So as you go look at a unit, you got to flick all that on and make sure it's operating correctly as if you live there. And then also the physical assessment. So you really got to have someone that you trust to do that. I have been the construction manager, but I have, like I said, let a couple people in, and I can trust them. So they're willing to help me get our project to the finishing point. So that's just another day in the life. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you like my shirt. It's a Lamborghini shirt from a race I went to in Austin. This video is sponsored by Lamborghini. Vroom. Just kidding. But I will see you guys tomorrow, because I've made a commitment just to like really show a time audit of all the crap that I do. I'm on the way to the doctor's right now, and this is a cool thing about being an entrepreneur, is that some of the things I need to do, I'm going to give it a pause for 2 hours, right? And go take care of my health. Because again, if you don't take care of you, I can't run any of this stuff, right? I can't be creative. I can't negotiate. I can't show up at hearings. Oh, here's another tip. I've learned a little more of the game. Allies, friends, men in the industry that like have some oomph, you know, standing behind me, beside me. Behind me really is the best way to do it. But